There is something wrong. We are in an ambush.
Hello there. My name's Peter Molyneux.
Hello, welcome to another IncGamers podcast extravaganza. We are the nation's favourite podcast. That's a lie, but I'm going to say it anyway. My name is Peter Parrish, and I'm joined by Paul Younger.
Good evening.
And by Tim McDonald.
Hello.
It's the same three as ever, but, you know, in case it's the first time you're listening, we should introduce everyone again. And so this week, as ever, we're going to be discussing the news and the games that we have been playing. And big news for me this week, personally, is Peter Molyneux appearing on Kickstarter in a puff of incredible ideas with Project Godus, which is purporting to be kind of a reinvention, a revisit to Populous, which of course he created back in his Bullfrog days, along with games like Dungeon Keeper and Black and White and Syndicate Theme Park, all of those decent management type titles, except Syndicate, which is more of a shooter. But anyway, so what do we think, guys, about Molyneux using Kickstarter to... He's after about £500,000 to remake Populous. Who wants to...
I think that this is a perfect opportunity for a turtleneck joke, as we haven't had one of those in a little while. I don't know. I'm personally surprised that he's not using this to kickstart a business of selling turtlenecks.
Like a woolen mill or something.
Yeah.
You can get a T-shirt at one of the Kickstarter levels, but sadly no turtleneck. You can also get a pendant, which has some sort of real diamonds on it. I was reading about this yesterday.
What
it has
really
nothing to do with the game, you know. But
the T-shirt that you can get should be a turtleneck T-shirt. It should be a regular T-shirt, except that the neck comes up to here.
That's an astonishingly bad idea. The fashion world is just not ready for this. I mean, this has kind of been a week actually where there have been some questions raised about established, if you like, in quotes, developers using Kickstarter in the UK to kind of bring back older games. I'm not quite sure why this backlash didn't arise when the US ones were doing exactly the same thing. Maybe because the UK is just more cynical. I'm not sure. The impression that you know, if you can afford to build and create your game without going to Kickstarter, then you shouldn't be on Kickstarter for some reason. That's the kind of impression that I'm getting, which seems a little odd to me, because the Kickstarter page simply says it's a platform for getting funding for creative projects. It doesn't say if you're already independently wealthy, you're not allowed to do this or anything. So I don't know what you guys think about the semi-backlash that's been appearing for this.
Well, for me, it's just pretty much typical British attitude. You know, you have to... Everyone likes to fail or see somebody fail or whatever. But I think the way I kind of look at Kickstarter is really as if you're like pre-ordering a game that hasn't been made. I don't know. Does that make sense? It's kind of less risk for the developer. They kind of know what they have to start and where they have to end, how much money they need. They'll do all the budget on it. I actually don't see a problem with it at all. I don't understand what all the fuss or complaints or moaning is about. But then again, hey, we're British. We're allowed to moan.
I don't really have a problem with it. I mean, it's the sort of thing, it's not like the fact that he's put it on Kickstarter automatically means that he's got all of this money out of people. It's the same as everyone else, you know. He has to first of all convince people that it's actually worth their money, their investment. And, you know, if you don't like the fact that Peter Molyneux is doing this, then don't put money towards it, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the assumption that Molyneux has all this free cash floating around. I mean, I don't know if he can just produce £500,000 out of nowhere. You know, he was a successful developer, and he's had some pretty high-profile jobs with Microsoft, but it's pretty hard just to whip out £500,000 from nowhere, isn't it? And I mean, the very reason that you go to the very reason you go to Kickstarter is to avoid that that kind of traditional publisher process, so that you know, because Molyneux probably could go to an established publisher and say, I want to make this game. You know, From Dust was published by Ubisoft fairly recently, and that was a semi-related God game. But inevitably, he's going to want to try and keep as much creative control as possible, which I think Kickstarter allows you to do. So it kind of seems like that is the impetus for it, not necessarily getting free money out of people, if you like. Don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, I think the one thing that might be upsetting people to some extent is that this might look a little bit cynical, like Peter Molyneux's just jumping on the bandwagon. I think of all the things that you can call Peter Molyneux, I don't think cynical is one of them, because he does just seem to have all these ideas and becomes very quickly genuinely excited about them. The one thing that confuses me slightly is that this is his new studio, 22 Cans, that did Curiosity, where you tap the cube. Has anyone tried that yet, out of interest?
No, there's no cube tapping here. I just don't. There's nothing in it. There's nothing in it. It's a trail of broken dreams. Why am I going to tap a cube?
The one thing that I don't quite get is that he said that 22 Cans and the games that they made would be experiments more than anything. They would be trying all sorts of things out, and they would be learning about people and their users and so on and so forth. And it says on the Kickstarter page, which I've got here, that this is along the same lines. But I can't help but feel that this seems like less an experiment and more Peter Molyneux seeing that he could probably do another Populous style game and thinking that he could do this on Kickstarter. And they're now kind of trying to link that into his past statements that 22 Cans was going to make however many experiments it was before putting all of these ideas together, all of what they learned together into a game. Yeah, it seems a little bit unusual in that respect, at least. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, do you remember how many they were they going to do 22 experiments? Is that the point of the neck? I remember they were going to do multiple sort of social experiments, if you like. Do you remember how many that was going to be?
No, I've got a feeling it was 22 as well. I'll look this up now, though.
But it is Peter Molyneux, so it was bound to be 21 that he'll actually get done. And he won't get 23 done, and that'll be the broken dream. Will be the 22.
And about 12 of them won't be quite as good as the experiment he described to begin with.
But I think I think looking today, I mean, at this Dizzy Returns update, which appeared earlier, where people were questioning if they really needed to raise 350,000 to make what was essentially a platformer, and they kind of put a post up today to justify the costs. And if you think about it, they have 12 developers working on it. They haven't given, I'm not sure if they've given an actual time frame for the project to completion, but you think you've got 12 developers that are employed on that one project. Then you have to pay their salaries, tax, you know, everything else on it. 350 grand doesn't really go that, very far. And I think people forget that. They look at the big figure of 350,000 and go, oh my god, how could it actually cost that much money to make? Well, you have to count structural costs and everything else into it. Yeah,
the benefit of being a kind of indie developer and asking for kind of $5,000 or something is that you can work on it personally, as a freelance essentially, or as a self-employed person. You're not having to kind of adhere to labor laws and pay a bunch of developers, a reasonable wage and possibly pay their
but then
their payroll taxes and all that kind of thing.
Well, surely that comes down to the quality of the product you get at the end of it. If you get a really, really polished product that could almost be released as a box copy done by a professional studio, what's the difference? Obviously, the little guy in his bedroom that's going to do an indie game for $5,000, the quality of the game is probably not going to be quite as polished as it is coming from a studio. So, and I think there are different levels of quality that are going to come out of these sort of indie.
All I'm saying is, as an indie dev, you have more freedom to kind of say, I'm going to do this in my spare time, so therefore I don't necessarily need as much money to kind of fund this, Whereas if you're going to be an established studio, stepping in here, you're going to actually need studio space and more employees, and so therefore the higher cost is probably going to be justified.
Well, not only that as well. I mean, as a professional studio, your reputation is on the line as well. If it's just like one guy in his bedroom, he could just disappear and no one would really know or remember or care. But if you've got you're a studio and you're doing other projects as well, or contracting for a publisher, whatever it is, your reputation is there. So you've got to protect that too. So again, it comes down to the quality of the product.
Go on, Tim. You were trying to get in there.
I had about 3 things I was going to say, but you two were arguing now. I've forgotten almost all of them. What I was going to say initially
we were arguing.
I did just look up what Peter Molyneux said, and I've got a quote here.
Okay.
We've got 12 people in the studio now, and I'm trying to push this to 20 people as soon as possible. And then we're directing all of our staff at the moment towards these things called 22 experiments, which are 22 experiments that we will release digitally on the journey onto the final product that we're going to make. So yeah, this seems a bit of an unusual experiment, unless it's an experiment to see whether he can get money out of people on Kickstarter.
To which the answer is yes. So far, he's doing all right. He's about a third of the way there. Last time I had a look, which was yesterday. So, do we think Godus can deliver a quality gaming experience based on Peter Molyneux's more recent endeavours? I'll tell you what do you guys think was the last great game that Peter Molyneux was involved in?
Probably Dungeon Keeper for me, actually.
Okay.
I'd say.
Not
Dungeon Keeper 2?
No, Dungeon Keeper.
I don't know, actually, mostly because I can't remember the order in which the games were released. I would say I think you'd have to go back to Bullfrog more than anything, though. I don't think that anything Lionhead did really hit the mark of being a truly great game. Don't
rate any of the Fable series, Tim?
They were okay. I wouldn't call them amazing or truly great quality. They weren't anywhere near sort of Syndicate or Theme Park or Dungeon Keeper. I mean, I didn't hate Black and White 2 that much. The Movies was a really interesting game. I don't think any of them quite hit that level.
One you missed is definitely High Octane, which was Bullfrog's sort of track racer, which was brilliant, which they created with the Magic Carpet engine, and they developed it in 6 weeks. And if you ever played that multiplayer, it was absolute blast.
I had forgotten about Magic Carpet, I'll grant you that. But no, you say I missed High Octane, I more left that off the list because I didn't think that was great either. It was quite good, I just don't think it was amazing and up to the quality of the others.
I was gobsmacked. It was absolutely awesome on LAN. It was brilliant.
Basically, though, we're saying pretty much kind of late 90s, mid-late 90s at the best for the most recent classic that he's made. So therefore, do you think it's a good idea, therefore, to go back to? I mean, they put out a video yesterday in which he and another guy from 22 Cans kind of went through a little video montage of that was 3 games. It was a Dungeon Keeper, the original Populous, and what was the other one? Black and White was the other one. Kind of picking out what they thought had stood the test of time in those games, and kind of talking about the bits they would pull out from all of those games to put into Godus. Which potentially sounds quite good, but it is, I don't know, in a sense that's a little backward looking. I mean, a lot of these Kickstarter projects look backwards. They're very nostalgia based, and a lot of those games were great, but sometimes I kind of would prefer to see some saying, here are some new gaming mechanics we're going to push for, rather than, hey, remember this game? It was great, give me money.
Well, I think that's rare anyway these days to come up with anything.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Completely unique. I think if you look at Star Citizen, for example, it's just a timing thing with that. It's the same thing really that we saw with Freelancer and so on, but there just hasn't been anything like that for a while. So it's just a matter of timing and realizing that there's nothing on the market that is similar, and it needs to be brought up to speed as far as technology is concerned. And they make no bones about it. That's what their intention is.
Mm. Out of interest, what Kickstarters have either of you guys backed, if any? Tim, I'll start with you, because I know you've probably done some.
I
Have you
done
done too many to name?
I can never remember which ones I've backed. That's the problem. There's loads I keep meaning to. I know that I can ask Paul, and I'll go and log in and check and see if I've actually got a list of which ones I've backed.
All of you, have you donated to any Kickstarters or Kickstarters similar?
Just the Star Citizen.
Okay.
That's it.
I also donated to the Wasteland 2 one and Obsidian's Project Eternity. I gave them both $20, I think.
I totally forgot about Wasteland 2, embarrassingly enough. I kept meaning to do it and then never did. Yeah, I backed Dead States, the zombie survival RPG, Project Eternity, Double Fine Adventure, obviously. A couple of other little bits and pieces like that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to kind of go back to the thing I just said before about them being nostalgic, I mean, I'm going to kind of contradict myself now in the sense that, you know, on the surface, the Double Fine Adventure is kind of a nostalgia look back to adventure games, but at the same time, I have complete faith in Tim Schafer and his team that they'll make something new and impressive with that, because, you know, their games of late have been very good in terms of being offering a kind of unique vision. They have a very cohesive kind of vision as a studio, I find, in terms of what they put out. You know, despite the games being quite different from one another, you can kind of very quickly tell this is a Double Fine production, as it were. Yeah,
there's a certain sense of humour in there, I think, and kind of the visual style as well. They don't use the same visual style, but there are elements that are very familiar with most of their games as well. If you look at things like stacking and costume quest, and even if you then go across to Trenched or Iron Brigade, whichever one it was called in the end. I think that they do have there is something that kind of ties all the games together, even if it's not immediately obvious. I think you're right on that.
I think my ultimate stance on Kickstarter is that if it gets people away from established publishers who have kind of who are publicly floated and who have shareholders to answer to and have quarterly financial results to meet every time, then I think that's a good thing, because it gets people out of that sort of risk-aversive area, and also, more importantly, allows them to keep control of their intellectual property, which I think is pretty important as a developer. Tim?
I find it funny you mentioned that, considering we were just discussing High Octane, because when I was trying to work out when the hell that was released, I discovered that it was apparently made in 8 weeks in order to fill in a quarter that didn't have enough revenue. So that went quite well for them, judging by what Paul said, though as I say, I don't remember it being that good. Then again, this was 1995, so not many people had LANs in their houses.
I didn't have a LAN in the house. But no, that's one of the games that we when we had the gaming cafe. That's one of the first games that we had up and running, was obviously Doom 2 and High Octane, and High Octane was just brilliant. I mean, nobody ever raced to win; they just raced to take each other out and hide, and then blow the shit out of each other. So it worked really, really well, and just the physics were good, because basically the Magic Carpet engine, it was nothing else really around like at the time.
Indeed. Well, I guess the ultimate thing to take away from Kickstarter is if you like the pitch and are not concerned with the slight possibility that you might not get anything for your money, then go ahead and pledge, because that's pretty much what it's all about. Whether you feel confident in the developer's ability to deliver on what they say they're offering, essentially. So yeah, Kickstarter. It's all good with me. Moving on, Paul, I think this morning you were getting acquainted with a guy by the name of Ocean Quigley.
Oh.
I want to bring him up.
Yeah, we're going to mention Ocean Quigley because he's got an awesome moustache, and obviously he's the he's the lead producer, is he, on SimCity?
Something like that.
Lead creative director, I do believe, and Yeah, he's got a great moustache, and they've released some footage now of SimCity today, which I think the game's out in March next year. But I have to say, it does look absolutely awesome. It really, really looks fantastic, and
It does.
I wasn't that excited about it, but the more stuff that's come out, like screenshots, they've been putting shots up on their Facebook page as well. I'm just dribbling for it. Really, really want it badly. But there's not the beta test doesn't start. I think it was going to start this month, but I understand that EA have told us today that it's going to be around mid-December when they plan to get the beta test up and running for that.
Yeah, I'm interested in it too. I have a couple of minor reservations. One of them is kind of external to the game in the sense that you're going to have this always-on internet connection even if you're playing solo, which always seems like a waste of time to me. That's not really a reflection on SimCity's quality. That's just EA's anti-piracy decision, I guess. And the other thing which is related to the game is that you can't like terraform the land anymore, which you I think could always do in SimCity, or certainly in the later one you could. In SimCity 2000 you could certainly do that, which I think is I don't know why they've made that decision really. Possibly the engine.
This could go back to what they're trying to do with the sort of multiplayer aspect of it, with regards to other people's cities influencing your cities. So there's maybe some game mechanics that they've had to either cut down or remove to make that actually possible. But I guess I'm not really going to be able to know that until we see how it actually works.
Yeah, granted. I mean, those are. I am still pretty damn interested in it. There was just a couple of things I've noted about its development, and I kind of thought, not so sure about that.
But do watch the video, because it's worth it for the moustache. And just the fact
yeah, well, I've already seen the picture of the moustache, but I want to see it in motion. I want to see it flowing in the breeze, with the fan off screen, like a kind of shampoo advert, flinging his hair. Anyway, that got a bit homoerotic. Far Cry 3, let's talk about Far Cry 3. Speaking of homoerotic adventures.
What?
The guy in that, he's on homoerotic adventures with his mates, isn't he? Pretty sure there's some latent homosexuality about the skydiving antics they're getting into. That's just the impression I got from the trailers, you know.
It is quite bro in the intro, I will grant you.
A bromance.
A little bit.
I'm just trying to link these topics by extremely tenuous threads. Yeah, I think really well. Far Cry 3 is actually out pretty soon. We talked about it last week, but that was quite a way before its actual release, and it's out. Tim, it's got like 3 release dates, hasn't it? Can you explain this?
Yeah, it's out in various European countries on Thursday. It's out in the UK on Friday, and it's out in America next Tuesday. So for once, Europe actually gets these things before the States, which is quite a nice change, to be honest.
Indeed. If you haven't already, have a look at Tim's review on the site. We can reveal it got a 9 out of 10 now. We couldn't. Well, we didn't know last week because Tim, you hadn't finished the review yet and you hadn't quite decided.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's getting pretty rave coverage everywhere. Actually, I've seen. Would you say that's fair, Tim?
I gave it a 9 out of 10. Of course, I'd say that's fair. Yeah, it's one of those games.
Softball
I mean,
question.
when playing it, you can. It's kind of obvious that it's going to do really, really well in the review scores department. It is just a really well-made game. There aren't really any mechanics in there that fall flat. It's just a wonderful game, and you should all go and buy it. And that includes you, Peter. Although, actually, no, you probably will. It's just that if I know you, you won't buy it for the next 3 or 4 years, probably. I look forward to you telling me about how good it is sometime in 2018.
Yeah, that's a bit. Well, was it 2000? Yeah, about 2014. As soon as it's about like half off in a Steam sale, I'll probably grab that. Paul.
Tim, I think I asked you this the other day. Is it in your Game of the Year list? Do you think?
Ooh.
I haven't actually tried assembling any sort of Game of the Year list. It would probably be a contender for the list, at least.
Well, what about FPS of the year?
I was trying to think what else would compete with that. Borderlands 2 probably would. Would Dishonored count?
Yeah, I suppose.
It's first person. It's a first person stealther. That's FPS, just with different acronyms.
You've obviously got COD as well, but I don't know. That's kind of. I think the difference with Far Cry 3 is the fact that it's the open worldness of it, and I think that is what makes it stand out a little bit from the crowd.
It is honestly one of the best open world games I've played. It easily sort of stands alongside things like GTA 4 and so on in terms of just the fidelity of the world, and Assassin's Creed and so on. Yeah, it would certainly be up there. It is one of the games that I've enjoyed most this year, certainly.
All right, good stuff. I'm going to quickly mention that since we've been talking about Hitman over the past week or so, IO Interactive have said that they're looking at the disguises system, and that they're almost certainly, well, pretty much are going to patch that in some respects. They haven't really elaborated on how yet, but I'd imagine it's related to kind of the reaction times of the guards spotting you, possibly the distance that they spot you at, maybe balancing that a little bit for each difficulty level. Tim, have you played more of Hitman at all since last we spoke of it?
Since last podcast, yes. Since last we individually spoke of it, no. I'm still up to about level 10 or 11 or whatever, because I've been busy with that thing what I've been reviewing this week. But I am happy to... I am happy that they are looking at the disguise system, because it's really getting on my nerves, quite frankly.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the camp that I like the disguise system in theory, but I'm not adverse to them patching some aspects of it. That's for sure. So probably look forward to that in the coming future. They've said that they're not going to address the checkpoints. Essentially, I think they're sort of like hard coded in there too much or something, because they said they're not really going to be able to do much with those. Tim.
The way the checkpoints work is a little bit unusual. Did they mention at all when this patch was likely, or is this just going to be in the future?
No, they didn't. They just said that they have kind of listened to the community and are doing something with it, you know. So it's forthcoming, I'm quite sure, but quite when, I don't know. They're also looking at the... I think there's a problem specifically on the console versions with sort of saves sometimes being wiped, which is a bit unhelpful since you only have one hard save throughout the entire campaign. So they're looking into that too. But I don't think that affects the PC version. I certainly didn't run into that. So that's the point in favour of the PC version, if the even fancier graphics were not enough to convince you of that. Okay, let's quickly move on to something that came in today from the... there's a campaign ongoing to save an MMO called City of Heroes, which is a game I've never played, but it's a superhero-themed MMO that was shut down, well, is slated to be shut down by NCSoft at the end of November. They announced this in end of August, I think, laid off the development team and said, that's it. No more, we're going to close it. There's been some dedicated players who've been trying to keep it alive, and their latest move is they've asked Disney to step in and save the day. They've written out a sort of portfolio featuring, I guess, like financial analysis and compelling arguments why Disney Interactive might want to step in and save City of Heroes. I don't know how likely this is to succeed, but has anyone here played City of Heroes at all?
Yeah, I played City of Heroes. I would say, in terms of it being likely to succeed, I would say it's probably not. If only because Disney doesn't seem to have a great deal of interest in, in mainstream games to some extent. Most of their gaming portfolio these days tends to be on mobile more than anything, and social.
Well, interestingly, the City of Heroes press release about this kind of said that Disney, they have the Marvel license and they are working on a couple of like Marvel MMOs, and bizarrely it kind of presented this as a reason why they should get City of Heroes, but to me that kind of seemed like they're already covered for the superhero MMO genre, and that's probably a point against really picking up another one, but I'm not sure, but they seem to think that would be a positive. They also claimed it's the #1 most successful superhero MMO in the world, which I have no figures to
Well, I
back
mean,
it up.
well, God, when was it released originally? It was quite a long time ago. I remember doing an interview at E3 with
It is quite a long.
Paragon. Yeah, a long time ago. And it really was the first. I mean, it was brilliant when it first came out. It was the first thing to do anything sort of like that, and everyone wants to play a superhero. But then, if you look back at it, we've had Champions Online, obviously, since then, as well, which is pretty similar, and that's obviously a bit more updated. I know that there's been quite a lot of expansions for City of Heroes, and the player base is probably reasonably okay-ish.
100,000 is what they say.
Yeah, I mean, it's never going to be a huge money earner, really, is it? It's kind of things have moved on. If they've laid the whole development team off, if they've all gone, then that would obviously have to get reassembled. There's costs involved in that. I don't know. I don't hold that much hope for this one. I don't know if Disney would have been where I would have gone, but then again, where do you go? Like you say, most things are covered. NCSoft would be the obvious answer of where you'd go, but that's no good.
Yeah.
Maybe someone like Perfect World Entertainment, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'll certainly give this campaign credit for taking action beyond like an online petition. You know, it seems like they have actually put together this pitch essentially that they've sent to an established publisher. I think if anything's going to be saving the game, it's some sort of action like that. So I would give them credit for at least trying. They obviously care very much about City of Heroes, so I wish them well, I guess.
In terms of its age, it basically came out around about 6 months before World of Warcraft did, which really does date it quite well. That's about 8.5 years old at this point.
Yeah.
In a sense, though, that might mean it has some of the older MMO mechanics that made older MMOs more interesting and more appealing. So there's that in its favour, I suppose. But it might also have some of the older mechanics that are now a bit rubbish. So that's not so much in its favour.
The thing with...
Go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say, the thing with City of Heroes, and I said this back then as well, is that I would almost be willing to pay a monthly subscription fee for that just to play around with the costume editor, because that is brilliant. It is the single best... It's probably the single best character customization thing that I've seen in any game at all. I don't think I've ever seen it done better. It just gave so many options and was done so well. It was probably more fun than the game.
I remember being shown that, being demoed the character and costume generator, and you could just spend ages in there just coming up with stuff. It was great, and it was really, really good. Probably not probably been done better, actually.
So there you go, Disney, if you're listening, and I'm sure you are. It's worth it for the costume editor, character creator alone. You should invest in that and lift that out.
Is there anywhere people can go to find out more information about this campaign that's running at the moment?
Yes, there is, and I'll use the power of the internet to dig that out of my
Is that you preparing your show in advance?
Have a look at it, and I would say that you would want to go to www.savecoh.com would be the place that you'd be wanting to go. Tim's left. He thought I was going to spend about half an hour doing that. Oh wait, no, he was just hiding under a desk. It's all good. And I had cheap PC games on my news schedule here as well, but we've been talking quite a long time, so I think we should probably just move on. PC games are cheap. That's good news. Hooray. Moving on to games that we've been playing. I'm going to start with you, Tim. You sort of obliquely teased this earlier with a game that you've been reviewing or playing for review this week. What is that, and how is it?
It's something that's out this week that has been taking a ridiculous amount of time, which should give a few people a fairly good idea of what it is. I've been playing around with Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition. Is it Enhanced Edition? I think it's Enhanced Edition. I know that it's BDEE. I just keep thinking it could be Extended, Expanded. No, it's Enhanced. And Baldur's Gate is a classic RPG, and it's very, very long.
Great value for money.
I haven't slept much this week. I've been trying to get that sorted. I haven't actually played Baldur's Gate before, the first one at least. I tried playing it once and it really got on my nerves. But that was mostly because Baldur's Gate originally had an enforced 640 by 480 resolution and everything looked tiny and the interface was rubbish. And Baldur's Gate 2, which I did play, kind of improved on all of these things. So it's been kind of interesting playing this. If only because it's possibly the first time I've had to review a really old game without it being a retrospective. I suppose the questions or the important stuff with that are, does it still hold up well as a good game today, and how much does the enhanced edition actually make a difference? And happily, yes, it's still a really, really good game, and the enhanced edition makes it a hell of a lot more fun to play. It's less of a chore compared to what it used to be like. So yeah, it's good. Buy it. Right, on to you.
Hang on. I've got a question. It's sort of a broad question, but I think you've played the relevant games to be able to answer it, at least in part. So there's quite a few people who think that BioWare's RPG writing skills and talents have gone off the boil of late. That they've gone a bit too, I don't know, mainstream or playing to their audience, I guess. Gone a bit fan fiction-y in their writing. Do you see a big difference in the quality of writing between Baldur's Gate, the original, and later BioWare titles?
Oh, this isn't the question I thought you were going to ask. I'm relieved. I thought you were going to ask something much, much worse than that.
No, what do you think I was going to ask? I'll ask that next.
No, it's fine.
Damn it.
No, I thought you were going to ask about the way kind of the genre has evolved and shifted, sort of between Baldur's Gate and then sort of moving forward to the more modern RPGs.
God, no. We'd be here all week.
Yeah, I do think that's an interesting thing, but I think that's pretty much a gargantuan feature piece more than anything. In terms of the writing, it's kind of a weird one. I think it's more the fact that things like Dragon Age have more cinematic pretensions, shall we say. They're trying to create a lot more in the way of kind of high drama and romance and so on. The writing in Baldur's Gate is decent, but it's kind of from that special time when a game could also be ridiculous. Some of the quotes of the party members when selected, I mean, one of them quotes Porky Pig when you tell them to move. Which is quite an odd thing to see. It's just full of all these little references to things, and it gets away with it because it's really charming. It's the sort of thing it doesn't work as a hugely cinematic thing in the way that sort of Dragon Age tries to be, with sort of sweeping, kind of very, very epic dialogue and movie-like dialogue and all these grand cutscenes and so on, but it's not really trying to do that, I think possibly because they couldn't really do it back then. The text and so on is generally fairly faithful to the whole sort of Forgotten Realms thing. It's kind of COD fantasy, but it does have a lot of these little asides and quotes from the modern world and references which do stop it from being a bit bland, which I realise doesn't actually answer your question because it's a really difficult question to answer.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? No, I was just curious because there is definitely a selection of players who, were kind of disappointed with Dragon Age 2, Mass Effect 3, and have generated a sort of general feeling that BioWare maybe have lost their way a little bit, or to put it another way, I guess gone in a direction that they don't appreciate as much.
I don't think that's entirely to do with the writing. I mean, I think that's part of it, and I would certainly agree that with things like Dragon Age 2, the writing did go downhill quite a lot. But Dragon Age was quite cheesy, but I quite liked it, and I think the same is fairly true of Baldur's Gate. Again, it's very typical fantasy. It's quite archetypical when it's actually trying to do story things or very dramatic things, but that works for it because it is a traditional fantasy game. It's kind of hard to compare, particularly on the spot, because it's got its very own weird little place in history. from that time, as I say, when it could be quite cheesy and quite charming and quite humorous at the same time. It could get away with all of these things, and it does. It works really well even now.
Okay, cool. So Paul, you've been playing playing around with the Far Cry 3 map editor this week. Put up like 3 videos, I think, on the site. So if people want to check that out in action, they can do that. But what have you found it overall?
Well, it started out as a small demonstration in how to make maps in a very simplistic form by chucking stuff down on a map, objects and so on, just to show the variety that was there. And then I stupidly hit the Ubisoft forums and said, "Oh, check out the video. Let me know what you think." And I immediately got bombarded with questions about this, that, and the next thing. So, again on Saturday, I went back in and I thought, well, I may have an attempt to make some sort of a multiplayer map with 2 bases and start a village and so on. So I started constructing this small village with a tower and bits and pieces and foliage and so on like that, and that went reasonably well. So that was video 2, and then in the 3rd video someone actually wanted to see the selection of fences that were available in the game. Yeah, I know, don't ask.
Well done, that man.
Well done, that man. So yeah, I immediately went and plunked down every fence that I could conceivably find out of the how many thousands of objects that there were, chucked down some vehicles and so on, just to show the variety and the sheer amount of things that you can actually do with this thing. And it's so easy to use. I'm absolutely useless at map making, and I wouldn't know how to make a good map if someone showed me how to make a good map. And it was actually incredibly fun and incredibly addictive, mainly because it was so easy to use, and the way you could manipulate objects, just group them, move groups together in one block. It was just brilliant, actually. I really enjoyed it, and making 3 videos instead of 1 was actually a lot of fun to do. There are things with it though that stop you being totally creative with the game, and that's to do with the restrictions that Ubisoft actually put down on the multiplayer maps. If you have a sort of a verified map, I don't remember if it's called that, but basically it has to get passed by their system before it is used online. There are things that you cannot use, like you cannot use vehicles, you cannot use AI generated sort of enemy, and that is what's pissing off the community right now, because they want to create multiplayer maps with vehicles, and they can't. And I kind of see maybe why, because the actual grid that you have for each map isn't that huge. But I also see their point of view that it'd be fun to put in some stuff like quad bikes and things like that, just to make the multiplayer map maybe a little bit more exciting and add another element to it. This stuff's been put in so that you could create your own sort of single player scenarios and then go and play them, which I kind of think is a little bit pointless, but I don't know, maybe some people will want to do that. And due to the sort of open world nature of the game, it would be awesome if you could just create like a whole world. But that's not unfortunately going to happen. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and it's a really good map editor, especially on the PC. I know there are some memory limitations, I think, on the console version, but on the PC none at all, as far as I've seen.
So is the map for doing single player maps, is that the same size as ones for multiplayer, or do you get a bit more space to play with that? Because I would imagine for a single player campaign, if you were trying to put one of those together, you'd need a whole lot more space.
Yeah, from what I've seen, it's exactly the same. You basically have a square grid, and then whatever you do inside that is completely up to you. Yeah, but you're right, it would be brilliant if you could create like a whole sort of world and scenario that you could then let other people challenge other people to do. That would be absolutely brilliant. So I don't know if they're going to change anything post-release, or there'll be an update. I have no idea, but very cool, very cool.
I don't know what you mean about not having good map making skills, because in the video that I watched that you did, there was an airport hanging over a cliff populated by bears and wolves and some sharks that were swimming around on land. Which,
yeah, you got to love them.
To me, is all the ingredients of a good map.
What I thought was brilliant about the sharks was I'd obviously put the airport in the middle of the map, and then bung down some tigers and sharks, and then obviously the AI then kicks in when you go and test the map, and what I thought was brilliant about it was the sharks actually immediately head to the water. They didn't try and attack me. They walked past me and they actually went to the water, which I thought was excellent.
As they should, Yeah, that sounds quite cool. Then, other than the restrictions are a little bit puzzling, because you would think. And my question is, like, why not put some vehicles in some multiplayer maps? Tim, maybe you know the answer.
I can kind of think of a few reasons, and once again, it comes down to the fact that the multiplayer has a leveling system, which tends to imply that if you kind of stick down a map where there are, for instance, 6 vehicles at one starting point and none at the other end, or something like that, it makes it... I can see that it would have the potential, any maps with vehicles and AI and stuff would have the potential to completely unbalance things, particularly with the leveling system. If you're doing a game where you don't have matchmaking and leveling and stuff like that, I couldn't see it being a problem, but in this case, yeah. I do agree that it's a shame, though. I would love to play a multiplayer map with lots of sort of rabid dogs and things like that running around, and tigers, and have a few AI guards around as well. Maybe have a truck in the middle.
But why not just have like almost like a playlist of just crazy maps? Where the leveling doesn't matter, and it's all about fun. And there's bound to be some that are going to come. People will play more than others. And if someone did that, then maybe someone could take it to make it a competitive map if it was really, really popular. I just think that option would be nice to have.
Yeah, it would be really good to have a playlist with sort of leveling disabled and things like that, where you can just play around on all of these insane maps. I think that would be excellent, and I don't quite know why they've gone against that. Who knows?
Indeed, that sounds like a good addition, though, to Far Cry 3. There's a point in its favour, certainly. I myself, with Tim a little bit, was playing a game called Air Buccaneers. You can see the results of some of that on the site today. Probably yesterday, depending when this goes out and you listen to it. In an IncGamers Play session. It's a multiplayer game by a team called Ludocraft, where you essentially pick a side, Vikings or Buccaneers, and you then do battle in kind of makeshift airships, taking to the skies and firing cannons at one another in a variety of familiar multiplayer modes, either sort of deathmatch or one of the ones we played was we had to protect a certain ship that was in the air, and there's another one. There's one called Domination, where you had to kind of get your ship close. Well, we didn't quite work it out whether you had to get the ship close to this sort of floating platform, or whether you had to actually leap one of your guys from the ship onto the platform to claim it for even more points. I wasn't quite sure about whether you would get a bonus for doing that. And it's pretty fun. It's a good idea. There's kind of 2 layers of teamwork at play with it, because each individual aircraft has, or airship, I should say, dirigible, if you will, has multiple slots for people to either pilot the vessel or fire cannons. There's sort of a 2-man one where one person steers and the other one fires the cannon, and then there's bigger ones where there's kind of like 2 cannons on either side of the vessel, and one steering position. So not only do you have to work together as kind of a crew on the individual craft, you've also got to be taking care to work as a team, if there's enough players in the match, with the other craft that are on your side. And yeah, it has some pretty interesting mechanics. It's got sort of the cannon fire is quite slow, and goes as you'd expect a cannon to go in a kind of an arc. So you've got to kind of aim and get your timing pretty accurate on that. But you also have some special cannon types as well, more rocket-like projectiles and air mines and things like that. And yeah, that's pretty much the size of it. You do battle in the skies, and the last ship standing will be triumphant. Tim, how did you find it in our little session?
I quite enjoyed it for our little session. I thought, like you said, it's quite a unique game. It's very, very different. It kind of rewards cooperation to some extent, although it doesn't demand it, if that makes any sense. You know, you need to work together with the rest of the team because you can't have... you need at least one other person in order to have someone steering and someone firing cannons. But on the other hand, you don't necessarily need to be sat there constantly communicating. I thought that it's a really novel idea and it works quite well. I'm not certain that there's quite enough there that would keep me coming back again and again and playing it for all eternity. But for what it was, I certainly enjoyed the time I spent with it.
Indeed, that's in. I think that's still in beta at the moment. It's coming out in early December, but for now you can actually download the beta on airbuccaneers.com or through ludocraft.com and give it a try for yourself if you watch the IncGamers Plays videos and like what you see. It could do, judging by our session, it could do with a few more people online for for playing it, because we were a little bit lonely in there. We had to deal with AI bots and a couple of Russian dudes at one point, but that was about it that we came across. Don't know if that was just the time of day we were playing it. It may have been. Anyway, it's definitely worth a try. I think that is about it for what we've been playing this week. What's coming up, Paul, on the site? What can people look forward to this week?
Well, I think we have Elite Dangerous interview coming up with...
Yes, we do, that's right. Yeah,
which,
Mr. David Raven.
Indeed. And I don't know if Tim, are you going to magic this this review up by the end of the week? I don't know. Are you?
Which review?
This
Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
Yeah, Baldur's Gate. That should be ready for, well, probably by the time this podcast goes up. Honestly.
Okay. Well, I think we'll bung that in on Friday.
Friday. We're going late with that one. Okay.
Yeah, I think you need time to get this spot on, Tim.
Thanks.
But tomorrow we've got a Stealth Bastard Deluxe special espionage arsehole giveaway. So yes,
Wait, what?
No,
Have you never heard of that, Peter?
we're not giving away.
Developed,
I am not giving away.
developed Tourette's. I don't know.
No, I'm not giving away a special espionage arsehole, but we do have copies of the game to give away. That's actually released tomorrow, and we have some pretty cool limited edition goggles, so you can stealth your way around your house and scare your family. That'll be going up tomorrow morning, and it's open to UK gamers. So if you're wanting a copy, win a copy of the game, you can do that. I'm trying to think what else has got up. What's that beta thing that we've got running at the moment? Oh, King's
City
Road.
of Steam?
Yeah, we've got the City of Steam beta weekends. Do keep checking that, because there are 4 weekends coming up for that, and there's information on the site. If you click the thing on the right nav bar that says get your key, there's dates listed there for when you can take part. And there's also the King's Road closed beta test, which is a new Facebook type game, which might be worth having a look at. So that's also on the front of the site just now.
Good stuff. As always, you should be following us on Twitter and liking us on Facebook and all of those social networks, because we need friends, people.
I do. And I dribble a lot on Facebook. I just dribble on. I think it says something about Tim's hair today. So if you're wanting funny quips like that, then get on the Facebook page.
They're going to be flooding in now. You should have said you post pictures of kittens, Paul. That's the way to get people in on Facebook.
Well, let's see if Tim gets a cat, we can all just put our cats on and they can do the podcast.
Yes.
Oh,
Cat
that was
podcast,
so
special edition.
good.
Hang on a minute, Tim, you're in the Isle of Man. You've got those special cats. You can get one of them.
Manx
Special
cats.
cat.
Yeah, the ones without the 3 legs or a horn or something like that.
They've got no tail. It's locked in sheep that have got horns.
Yeah, same thing. Tails, horns, legs.
Yeah, locked in sheep are exactly the same as Manx cats.
Good stuff. Important cat news there at the end of the podcast. And also, if you want to leave us questions on either the comments underneath the podcast or through Twitter or something, then we would probably be happy to address those during the podcast. I was listening to the Midnight Resistance podcast, and they have a question session that was really good, so I thought I'd steal that idea.
Oh.
But it depends if there's anyone bothering to send in questions for us to do that.
Also, as well, with regards to IncGamers Plays, if there's anything you'd like to see Tim, myself, or Peter actually play and talk about, then do let us know. You can do it on the site, in the forums, in the comments, on Facebook, or on Twitter.
Indeed. Yeah, we just need friends, basically. Please be our friend. Sounds a bit desperate, doesn't it, really? But there we go, never mind. Yeah, we're leaving now. Goodbye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.